Hello everyone, Alexander Flores here, and welcome to episode 24 of Creating a Software Company. In this video, we're going to be reviewing some previous code that has some security flaws, and we're going to be fixing those flaws. So currently, if we look at the delete method for collaboration groups, we see that we're simply just deleting the collaboration group without any concern of people passing in group IDs of groups that they do not own. So what then we want to do is we want to make sure that we're also passing in the current sub from the session, and then also double checking that that sub also has access to delete this group. Therefore, they're the owner of the group. And we want to do that similarly with the social profile delete as well, because here we're simply deleting it, but we want to make sure that the sub has access to that social profile ID and can't just delete anyone's account. So one thing here that we can note is that we don't actually have the sub added here. We have the social profile ID, but I also want the creator's sub, which is basically their account name incognito. So we're going to go over to collaboration groups post, and we're going to add that in. Okay, so with this, we're simply just storing the event. So I have to go into API gateway, add that as a required parameter, and then also add it to wherever we're creating social profiles. Collaboration groups. But right here is where we're going to be storing the sub, so we're just going to add it to the URI. Again, this right here, if there's an ID present, that means we are updating the collaboration group. This else scope right here is going to specify actually creating one. So, okay, so here we're passing the sub in onto the URI. The reason why we're doing it on the back end is because we don't want the sub to be displayed in the front end anywhere, because that could be considered a security problem if anyone knows anyone else's sub. So we're simply just going to add this here, and then this will be sent to the API gateway, and then will be sent to Lambda. So I need to go over to API gateway, and I need to actually add that as a parameter. Okay, so I went ahead and added sub as a URL query string parameter, and then I also made it so it's required. So whether we're updating or creating a collaboration group, we want to make sure we have the string. Therefore, I'm going to go ahead and put this outside of both of these if statements. And so whether we're updating or we're creating, we're still going to have this sub at the end. Now we can go ahead and save this. And then over here on index, whenever we are actually deleting the collaboration group, we now have access to that. So we can make sure that we have access to actually deleting a correct collaboration group that we actually created. So now we want to basically perform a get item with the DynamoDB with the ID we passed in, and then double check that the sub that created that collaboration group is the sub that we passed in here to make sure that the owners are the same person. Okay, so I just created a new collaboration group, and we see that the sub was added incorrectly. So now that we have this, we can copy the sub. We can go over to our delete request, and then we're going to paste this in right here. But we also want the new collaboration group ID, so we're going to go ahead and copy that from right here. Now we're going to save this. So right now we're just performing a GET request and returning the data, so we're going to see what that does. So now we see we have access to the sub right here. And so this is the same parameters we're going to use for our delete request, but one thing we can do is we could say if data.item.sub is exactly equal to event.sub. Then we can go through and we can actually perform the delete. But otherwise, we're probably going to want to return some type of object because the message is unauthorized. So I deleted the last character on the sub, and we're going to try this, and we see that we're unauthorized. But if I add that character back and then I try this, it returns an empty object, which probably means that this was actually deleted. So here we go, there's that. So now on our delete request, we have to pass in the sub. And so we can go over to our collaboration groups router right here. And then we need to make sure that this URI is also going to have the sub. Just like that. So now I would add all this to my Lambda function. However, that means I have to add in the permissions into our IAM to gain access to the get item method. So I'm going to do all the actual Lambda method stuff off camera. So for now, I'm going to move forward to the delete social profile. and we're going to move forward with the same concepts. So if we look at a social profile in the database, we see that we do have the account sub, and so this is the sub that we need. So that means all we need to do is on deleting of a social profile, then we can just check this against whatever is in the session. So I'm basically just going to copy this code that we just wrote over to this file, and then we're going to edit our test method right here. And the ID for the social profile might be different. So we have the new social profile ID. Let's go ahead and copy this right here. And then we need to pass in the sub, and we already have that right here. And so this is going to work exactly the same way. If I got rid of a character in here, then it would say unauthorized, otherwise it'll say authorized. So that is fine, we know that this works. I'm going to go ahead to our API gateway, and I'm going to add that as a parameter. So we see right now we just have the ID, but we also want a required sub parameter now. And then we're going to go ahead and add that into integration request. Just like that, we're going to save and then deploy our API to the development stage. And now we're going to listen for whenever we're actually going to delete a social profile. So here we have some GET requests, then here we have a delete request. So we want to add on to the URI the sub that is in the session. So we can save that here. And then we're going to just simply test this out on our local machine without deploying it to Lambda. So I'm going to navigate over to the social profile folder and then delete. And then just to double check, I'm going to get rid of one character in the sub to make it invalid. Then I'm going to run the code. Oops, I have to install AWS. Okay, so now that we have AWS installed, we can go ahead and run our file. We see that we get unauthorized. Then if I add back that last character, save it, and then run it again. Okay, so I just noticed there's a problem because I got unauthorized again. So there's an inconsistency, which I'll be fixing, but this is called account sub in the actual database. So if we say data.item.account sub equals event.sub, this should now work. So we get an empty object back, which is a good sign. We can go ahead and refresh. We see the social profile is now deleted. So this is something that I'm going to be uploading to our Lambda functions and adding in the correct permissions for those Lambda functions off camera, just because I've been doing that so much, you guys certainly know what's going to happen. And so that's pretty much it for this video. Just wanted to improve some security things that I saw, because on my local machine, I could see that I'm the only one using it. And so if I'm going ahead and deleting it, I know it's me, but I had to think ahead. And then I realized that I have to make sure that the person actually deleting these is the correct person. And so this is one way to do that. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching.